All right, we're back, and when I say we're back, it's still me, Wade, and Kevin, but this is the first rendition of the Move Well podcast, and we'll give a quick little rundown of how this has kind of evolved. So, when I first joined the Move Well team, it was the Move Well podcast, and then after about a year, we decided to rebrand it, just because we were kind of exploring how we wanted to sound, how we wanted to look, what we wanted to talk about. Rebranded to Adapt and Achieve, and that was mainly just bringing on guests, hearing their stories, talking about adversities they've faced, how they've built things, processes they've gone through, and then after that, Kevin and Wade bought the business, bought Move Well, and we started what was called the Wellness Dads podcast, where we kind of talked more candidly about things that were going on, parenthood, our faith, things like that. And what we realized was we can just combine these together because now we kind of understand what we want to talk about, the direction we want this podcast to go, and essentially the target audience we wanted to reach. So then we were like, you know what, let's redo the podcast again, and let's bring everything together. And we're trying to come up with names, different ideas. How do we make it relevant to Move Well, but still talk about the things we want to talk about? And we were like, we'll just go back to the Move Well podcast because it's a one-stop shop. You know what it is. If you know what Move Well is, you know the Move Well podcast is ours. And so that's where we've ended up. So today's the first episode of the Move Well podcast, the rebrand, but essentially we're still doing the same stuff.
And I've got my own mic now.
We have our own mics.
So watch out.
Because go ahead and mute him.
During the Wellness Dads podcast, and I've had so many people just sad that's gone, but
yeah,
it's all right. But I couldn't talk. Wade kept stealing the mic from me. But now,
like two little brothers.
Now he has no excuse.
It's like two little brothers. These two fighting over mics. But no, we have a new audio interface now. We have Rodecaster Pro. So I got that about a month ago, and we had
we lost it for a month.
It was a long journey. We Rodecaster Pros are pretty much the gold standard of podcast audio, from what I know. And so we wanted one for probably about a year, and we wanted one, and they're expensive. Full transparency, if you buy them brand new, they're expensive, especially the Pro, which allows you to use up to 4 microphones. And so I found one on eBay that was used, and the guy who I bought it from, if you're listening to this, I'm just gonna air it out, man. No, I bought it on eBay, and the USB-C, basically one of the outputs that I needed to go into my computer to even use this thing was broken. And so it was a long process. I shipped it to Rode, who makes the Rodecaster. They fixed it for us for a very affordable price. Got some money back on it. We're here. We still spent significantly less than what we would have on a brand new one. But we're here, and everybody has their own mics now. We've got our A10 Mini Pro set up here. We've got our cameras going, so we're good.
Yeah,
we're good. It was a long process of wheeling and dealing, but we made it happen. But no, today, if you're looking at the title of this, we're jumping right into the hard conversations, to the trends, to the fads. That's wellness. Because when you think about wellness now, I think it's a super complex topic, because when you hear wellness, you can think of a million different things, when really you can narrow it down to 8 essential topics, right? Is it 8 essential topics of wellness? 8 pillars of wellness. Yeah, 8 pillars of wellness. But wellness looks different for everyone now. And I found this article. We're kind of doing research on this of trending topics in wellness. And it was this article, and it is literally titled "The Trends Defining the $1.8 Trillion Global Wellness Market in 2024, which means the wellness market consumers spent $1.8 trillion in 2024, which is just an absurd number. And I think a lot of that is a testament to people, one, taking care of themselves more. They care about the way they look, feel, but two, I think there are a lot of fads that are tied in with that. Because when it comes down to it, I think wellness is a lot more simple than what this article makes it out to be. But when you look at the numbers and you look at the things that people are spending money on, you're like, people will spend money on so many things. And I mean, we're all guilty of it too. I mean, you want to spend money on stuff that you think is going to make you feel better, look better. And as you start getting older and you can see in these numbers, you spend money on things that make you appear younger and look better. So really just kind of jumping into this today. And Wade has his pen and notepad over here.
I got some notes already.
Yeah,
so let's switch up.
He took some notes.
So we're talking about the trends of wellness in 2025. So I dug into the author of this article a little bit. And then I also tried to find on what they define wellness as, because I know we have our definition of wellness. Everybody kind of has their own definition of wellness, but I wanted to see what they defined it as for this article specifically. So they were defining it to all their consumers that they polled. I think they interviewed like 2,000 people for this article. And it was, their wellness is defined by better health, better fitness, better nutrition, better appearance, which is something we don't ever really talk about a ton in our wellness aspect, better sleep, which we kind of combine into physical wellness, and better mindfulness. So that's how they define wellness as it pertains to this article. I just wanted to give that little background definition first.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the things they had in here on their they had a couple like exhibits that show graphs, and basically it was purchases by product and service type based on generations. So percentages of generations and how much like what percent of generations are spending the majority of those $1.8 trillion on their wellness, and then the category. So that it was, appearance, health, fitness, nutrition, sleep, mindfulness. So it says that millennial and Gen Z consumers are spending more on health and wellness than older consumers. And to give you some context, in the appearance category, that is the category that led between appearance, health, fitness, nutrition, sleep, and mindfulness. So appearance and health were the top two spenders in wellness categories. And then it drops off pretty significantly to fitness. And then they're pretty even from fitness, nutrition, sleep, and mindfulness. So about 52% of wellness spend in the appearance category was millennials. And then about 41% was Gen Z. And then about 45% was Gen Z. And then about 41% were all other ages. So if you look at that, I mean, that's what, almost, it's over 90% of spend is between millennials and Gen Z in appearance and their wellness.
What falls into the appearance category?
So that's like cosmetic procedures. So a lot of people are doing hair transplant now. I don't know if you've seen that. So a lot of like 30 to 40-year-olds will go and do hair transplant surgeries. I just did that recently. No, I did not. It's the lighting in here, guys. No, so that's cosmetic procedures, hair care products, skin care products, which I mean,
like Botox would fall.
Botox fall in the category, but even stuff as simple as skincare routines. So like my wife uses like 4 different things every night. So you have like the like different oils, different acidic products, like coconut oil, things like that, whatever it is that people use on their face.
Those like wipes. So when I was younger, you did these wipes for like acne.
Oh yeah,
and they would like just burn your face.
They burn the crap out of your face. There's no way
Clearasil.
Clearasil is one brand. Then there was there were
you would literally just burn your face.
Like a big.
There was also like Oxy something was another one. Like
they came in like they were circular wipes. And you'd wipe one, they would just burn
the crap out of your face.
Yeah. It was like really it was straight bleach, pretty much.
Yeah, but so the appearance, it falls under cosmetic procedures, so like Botox, hair transplant. Like that stuff is obviously more expensive, so that could be a testament to why it is so much money in those categories. But then even stuff as simple as like skincare and hair care products. So like maybe it's restoration of like balding or your hair, and then also just nighttime routines, skincare routines. I mean, you think about the impact social media has on majority of skincare routine stuff. Yeah. When you look at, when you get on TikTok and you see a lot of influencers, male and female, they do nightly routines, skincare routines. They can link the products they're using so people can go directly to that link and buy whatever it is. So I think social media has a massive play in the spend, in the wellness spend as well. And then second is health. And under that counts over-the-counter meds, personal and home care products, and vitamins. So you look at supplement industry, what I would assume would fall into that when it comes to vitamins. And I think that also goes back to social media, because people are talking about the daily products that they take, and they can link it and they can share it with billions of people across the world. And so that influences people to buy those. So those were the two biggest categories in the spend.
It's interesting. So the younger generation, is that Z, is spending more on health than the older generation.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
Gen Z.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I would say that they're spending more on preventative things
correct.
to help their health currently, not as in like a healthcare spend.
Got it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing to note, is like, this is not healthcare spend. So like, this is wellness. So this is more so preventative in the moment, or it's preventative, but then also in the moment, like personal care, but not to the extent of prescription medication, doctor's visit. Like that stuff is not, that's healthcare spend. This is
over the counter.
side.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was super interesting. And like $1.8 trillion, that's mind blowing.
That's one of the biggest industries in the U.S. Then, I
100%.
assume, right?
Yeah.
$1.8 trillion industry.
Yeah. But then it's
Massive.
interesting the fall off after appearance and health. The next is fitness, and the percent is millennials leading the charge there, and it's about 28% of it is spent in fitness. So I think that kind of talks about, it kind of leaves room for all the other ages to spend on fitness. So that's studio classes, wearable devices, memberships to gyms, which kind of makes sense when you think about gym memberships and like studio classes. You typically see older people doing those. So I think that does make sense. And then there's nutrition, sleep, and mindfulness. And those are all kind of hover around that 20 to 30%, or probably 18 to 25% of Gen Z millennials that make up the spend there. So I thought that was super interesting. But it's crazy that much money is flowing through wellness. And I think a lot of that is kind of fads, and it's and a lot of it revolves around what you see on social media now, from like cold plunges and like the at-home wellness trends that are going on right now. But I do think that stuff is beneficial. But this is interesting. It says in the United States alone, they estimate that the wellness market has reached 480 billion just in the US. So the 1.8 trillion is a global
Worldwide,
spend.
okay.
So the US is 480 billion of that 1.8 trillion. And it's growing 5 to 10% each year. And it says 82% of US consumers consider wellness a top or an important priority in their everyday life.
So this I know this isn't in the article, but what are some of the mental health trends? Your wife works in mental health.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like from a mental health standpoint, we're getting worse and worse, though.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
It didn't really address that at all. In the
No, it
article,
didn't
did
address it in
They
the
talk
article.
about mindfulness at time, but they don't ever really address like what people are spending
now
on.
technically therapy falls under the mindfulness category, like the therapy sessions. But I still think that people still struggle to, I think, lean on mental health. I think
Yeah.
people talk about it more, but the actual spend, I don't think
I think it's interesting because I reference that article a lot. It's called that the U.S. Surgeon General put out. It's called the epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And
Mhm.
basically, our levels of loneliness and isolation are the highest level of all time, and they're just as bad as like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, drinking 12 alcoholic beverages a day. And I forget how much
Crazy.
percent of our population is lonely and isolated, but the younger generation is the one that's saying that more than the older generation, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Which I'm just looking at the spin. So it's like, okay, so then we're lonely, we're isolated, we're not happy, we don't have hope. So now we're going to go try to spend our way
Right.
into feeling those things, is what this data to me is showing, just from knowing
Yeah.
both sides of the spectrum. Of course, I'm always going bigger picture, but
No.
we always define wellness as living the life you were created to live.
Yep.
And then all these things are a component of that, like appearing, all that stuff. But I don't know where else to go with that topic, that thought. But I think if we're not happy, we're not living. That's a lot of our as consumers, we think we can just go buy our way into
Yeah.
it and buy this hack, or like this new skincare routine is going to make me happy, or it's going to make, if I have more hair, I'm going to feel better about myself. So maybe that's the missing link of what I'm searching for, So that's just interesting. We can go.
Well, it's easy for you to say with a head full of hair.
Yeah.
No, but I totally see what you're saying there. And I think it all kind of points to it, because all the health trends that they talk to later, like the areas for growth, are healthy aging. So obviously we want to live longer. We want to live happier, healthier lives. Gut health, sleep are some of the one. I mean, it kind of lines up with what you're saying, but it kind of doesn't once they get into the areas of trends for like a bigger growth. So it's interesting, but another one I find very interesting in the top 5 trends is the AI component. Did you talk about that at all? Apparently that's like a huge top area of growth that people are leaning on for more of a personalization.
So when you say
aspect.
top area of growth, you mean like an area that's going to grow?
It's a trend.
Top 5
Yeah.
trend
It's a
that they
trend.
see growing,
Yeah.
Okay.
in wellness.
Yeah.
Is generative AI and personalization of like workouts, nutritional advice, leaning on AI to give them specifics for their health itself.
Yeah, so basically just personalized wellness things. So the example it gives is that millennials specifically, it says prefer personalized products and services. So it kind of, an example is when you go on a website and it's like, click here for a personalized like wellness routine or a personalized daily supplement intake. And you go in, you basically fill it out. type in your age, gender, what are your health goals, your fitness goals, blah blah blah, all this stuff, and basically you get a rundown sent to your email or right there on the spot that essentially provides everything based on AI or the internet, what you need in order to reach your wellness goals. And basically it takes them 2 minutes or less to give you that snapshot. So I think it's the efficiency and the conveniency of it, right? I mean, we pay for convenience. That's a lot of the money we spend is just for convenience. And so I think that's where AI is going to completely take over, and it already has, obviously. Like right here, it says that 20% of consumers in the United Kingdom and United States and 30% in China look for personalized products and services to use biometric data to provide recommendations. So basically typing in age, weight, height, it's going to give you a rundown. Here's the things you need based on your age. By this, at 30 years old, your body is probably XYZ. So you need this, And so I think that's interesting. And I think that's why people are getting so, leaning so heavily towards like wearable devices too. I mean, all three of us wear Garmin's.
Yeah.
Now we don't really use it to track biometric necessarily. Like we do it more so to log workouts and maybe look at our resting heart rate and sleep score here and there. But I think that where people are really starting to lean on the wearable stuff and like the personalization is the conveniency of it, and they see how quick they can get answers. And then when they get that, it's like, oh, okay, I need to take magnesium, ashwagandha will help my anxiety. Okay, I'm just going to order it right now.
Yeah.
And they get it to their doorstep on Amazon Prime in the next 2-3 days. And I think that's why people like it so much. And that's where wellness is kind of trending, is the conveniency aspect of it. And an example we were talking about offline was we did a podcast with Evan Slaughter, amazing dude, Fit to Serve on Instagram. And he has a cool story. He's had a really cool really recent weight loss journey. And he's using a company called Get Blokes. And essentially what that is, it's a company that uses your specific respective biometrics to help you reach your fitness, wellness goals, health goals. But what companies like that do differently, and I think they've done, is they've channeled like the conveniency part of wellness and health. But what they do is essentially, if you use this company, Get Blokes an example, and there's a couple different companies that do it. They would send like a nurse to your house or send you to a local clinic. They do a lab draw, so they take a couple vials of blood, they test for XYZ, and they send it off to this company. They do they read your lab work, they check your test levels, your like liver, kidney, white cell blood, red blood cell, all that stuff. And they basically they cater to your goals or your lab draw. So if your testosterone level's low, they can then prescribe you testosterone booster or things to help.
Sent to your house.
Yeah.
Right?
And it gets sent right to your house, and it's a prescription medication. Or if you want to lose weight and you're overweight and you're within that certain index, they can prescribe you an Ozempic or a Ozempic equal to help you lose weight. Like, it is insane what you can do. And you can do all that without going to see a doctor in person.
Yeah.
So I think that's where wellness has trended so much. And that doesn't necessarily go into the AI, but it kind of goes into the personalization and and like the conveniency aspect that wellness has kind of turned into. So I think there's so many different ways that you can go about the personalization aspect of wellness now without having to actually go and get in front of a doctor. And I don't see that changing, but I don't know. I mean, you kind of keep up with the trends, and especially kind of touching like the Ozempic part of it. So like, I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that stuff, Wade? I know you do.
Well, I do. Let me see. It's kind of heavy topic there to talk about, Logan, but that's why we're doing this podcast,
Yeah.
right? That's why we're doing it.
Not even necessarily Ozempic specific, but I'm talking about like the
well, I think if you go down a little bit more on point 5, you'll see on the top trends, they're going towards doctor recommendation versus like just influencer providing a lot of influence on people. I feel like in this world of all this information, all this technology, what do we even believe anymore? I feel like it's hard for people to actually get at the root of like what is actually beneficial for me, because so many different places say different things, right? So these influencers will be saying one thing to try to get you to buy their product, so they get a commission. Physicians may be saying one thing. People may not have trust necessarily with the medical community all the time too. So there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of there's just so much information. Not every single person, especially like just thinking my parents just trying to go through this and navigate like what is true.
Yeah.
It's hard to know that. But I think it's a combination approach, right? Is like a physician is important, but they also have limitations in terms of
Right.
nutritional advice, in terms of exercise advice, right? They're really deemed more on finding out like what the issue is, and then a lot of lifestyle modifications kind of help address a lot of those issues. So
Mhm.
that's where like a personal trainer, a dietitian can kind of come in to help fill a lot of those voids to try to work on lifestyle changes.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of these are identifying what the issues are. And that's what I think it always comes back to the wellness trends. It's all about either appearance or cosmetic type issues that they're
Mhm.
trying to address, or like trying to figure out, I feel like I have something wrong with me
Mm.
and this information is going to tell me what's wrong.
Yeah.
And then that's going to fix all my issues.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily going to fix your issues. And I run into this with my siblings all the time. They're like, I feel like I have this issue, this issue, this issue. What am I like? I just need to figure out what the bottom root cause is first. Then I'll start working on it. I'm like, just start making little changes at a time.
Yeah.
And then over time will lead to big changes. And you'll see your anxiety, your sleep issues, your eating habits, all that stuff, making one change in one day, you're not going to see a huge change.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it comes back. It just takes a holistic approach to all this. It's
Yeah.
not super simple, especially like Ozempic's not going to answer everybody's
Right.
issues right out the gate, but it will help certain few that are severely type 2 diabetic. We just talked to our dietitian about this, that have had a lot of issues controlling their diabetes for years, and it can help get their blood sugars under control. It can be
Mhm.
life savings for individuals like that. But
Yeah.
where I think it comes back is people still have to put in the work to reach the goals they want, and just investing a ton of money in a lot of superficial things may not always be the most beneficial route to get there.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to when you try to make like 5 changes at once, the chances of getting overwhelmed and quitting all 5 things is very high. So I think that's what I see when I see how much money goes into the wellness market, and then the things that people are spending money on. And again, I'm guilty of spending money on some of these things, but you put so much into things that don't really matter that much. Like a good example of this, and we all care about how we look, no matter what you say. To an extent, you care about how you look, but I think when you look at it from a big picture, it's like we all look the same when we're in the ground, right? You look up a picture of a skull, that's what we're all going to look like, right? Like
Heard that before.
I've heard that before from Mr. Chad, right? But so at the end of the day, like you look at things like appearance being the top spend is so surprising when it's over health, not by a lot, but it trumps health by a couple of percent in spend. And when in reality, you would think that or fitness and nutrition should take the place of appearance, but it just shows that people are willing to spend money on the things that are more so fleeting rather than longevity. Because, and I think that's where people tend to overcomplicate wellness now, is they spend money on all these products to do these things for, how they look. And then you wonder why mindfulness is the least spend. And that includes meditation, mental health, calmness, slowing down, using therapists, and spending money on therapy sessions. So all these things that don't really matter, like your appearance, like how you look, it matters to you, but should it matter 50% more than your mindfulness and your mental health? No. And I think that is just telling in how people can overcomplicate their wellness. Like they spend so much more money on skincare routines, and then their mindfulness and their being able to slow down and actually invest in things like therapy is the very bottom in all spend. And I just think that
kind of funny.
isn't that funny? Yeah. And I think that
It
kind of goes back to the
goes from,
point you were
least
making.
important. So like when you look at the spend, the stuff that's least important is the most money spent. The stuff
Yeah.
that's most important is the least spent. That's
Yeah.
so
And what's
interesting.
funny is I think people would probably agree on that. Even people that are spending money on those things would probably agree. Like, yeah, I would rather my mental health be good. So, okay, well, why are we spending so much money on the way we look then?
You know what? And if you're happy and you're smiling, you're gonna look a lot better. Like,
Mhm.
like literally, like, if I
Mhm.
spend all this money on my appearance and getting all this stuff, I'm not saying that's bad, but if I'm just happy and I'm smiling and I'm like have a positive attitude, I'm just naturally gonna look better. and
Yeah.
be more attractive. you
Yeah.
know, like than if I'm just miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is. It's so interesting that, and when you actually like look into these numbers and you realize how much more, like out of $1.8 trillion, and no, this is just the U.S. health and wellness purchases. So out of the 480 billion that it was, that's a big, like even a couple percent is a big number of spend. And so to see about 51% of millennials spending in appearance and only about 18% of millennials spending in mindfulness, that's millions of people that are spending most of their dollars on appearance and little to none of their dollars on mindfulness.
And then, of course, nutrition and fitness, not as much spent on that. But
Right.
if you invested in nutrition and fitness, you would probably look better and not have to spend the money on the
Exactly.
appearance stuff.
That's what I'm saying. It's so overcomplicated.
But it doesn't it make sense though? But it's easier to go out and pay for your appearance rather
Yeah.
than putting in the work, like you're saying, Wade.
Yeah.
Like you've got to. It's very hard to to go out and maybe lose weight or
Yeah.
gain muscle mass or whatever
Yeah.
on your own by going to the gym or eating better and changing your habits and those kind of things.
Yeah.
It just takes work.
Well, it's a process, and that's
Process,
yeah, and that's what you think about like DoorDash as an example. Now you can just order your food right to your office rather than going out to get it. And it's the same thing with people taking care of their health or fitness. Like they would rather spend money on their health and their appearance in hopes that that's going to help them rather than spending $30 a month on a gym membership and hopefully they see results in 8
Remember
months.
we went and ran on Saturday. I remember we were talking about how a lot of people don't want to deal. They're running from stuff, or they want to distract themselves with noise and things like that because they don't want to deal with the stuff internally. And I think it's a lot easier to just be like, all the surface level stuff to invest in that rather than mindfulness. That stuff's hard.
Yeah.
Because now you're gonna you have to like work on things that maybe you don't want to work on.
Yeah.
That's a scary, hard thing to do. So I think we try to distract ourselves, but instead of doing that, let's go invest in this, or let's go invest in that maybe temporarily makes us feel good or feel a little bit better, but it doesn't really bring us lasting joy or anything or fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard. So like we're just constantly just trying to distract ourselves. I think even investing in wellness things that distract us from the actual real issue we need to work on to impact our wellness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's not saying that any of these things are bad. It kind of goes,
none of these are bad.
If you kind of look at this as like budgeting your wellness priorities, like when you make a budget, and people say like, I got to cut out getting coffee. It's like, well, if you don't have to cut out getting coffee, but if you just go in the order of save and then spend, you can save your money and then still be able to spend on coffee, but just save your money more appropriately in other ways. It's the same thing with wellness. You can still spend money on skincare routines, but maybe you need to prioritize your sleep or your mindfulness before all that, or your fitness before all that. So put that at the forefront. And then as you realize you're in a rhythm with your fitness or your mindfulness or your sleep, you're going to start seeing improvements that way. And then you can still spend your money or spend your energy on your appearance and the skincare products that you love. And it goes the same thing as a budget. If you're, in church, we're doing this, we're in this, basically this it's a series, and it's called 1 Degree. So each month, basically our pastor tells us, let's make a 1 degree change in the area of financial, spiritual, and then like two other categories. Man, this office is rough right now, man.
We've got a drain issue, and the smell is
it's bad in this office. You guys are
COVID. I can't even smell.
Yeah, so
really?
it's bad. Yeah,
talking about how cold it is in here.
No.
1 degree change would be really nice.
No, it would. No, so anyway, we're talking about, it's called 1 Degree is the series. And so basically it just encourages you to make a change in all these different areas. And all of them are so similar to wellness. And so when, we talked about spiritual the first week and the financial this week, and our pastor used the category of, when you think of financial, think of share your money, save your money, spend your money. So obviously when you think from a faith standpoint, sharing your money, for those who are in need or with the church, or, basically using that as God's money. Like, how do you feel called to do it? And then obviously, save your money appropriately so that you can pay for things to even live your life, like bills, such as like mortgage, car, groceries, things like that. So share, save, and then spend is the last category. And that's the example that we were talking about was, you don't have to cut out Starbucks, but if you share and save your money appropriately, you're still going to have coffee or other things that maybe, coffee or getting lunch once a week or going to get your energy drink that you get every day. That can still remain in your spend category. You just have to prioritize the other categories first, and you can still keep that. And that's the same thing with wellness. You just have to prioritize the areas that you need first, and then you can still have room for the other things.
Yeah.
What are you writing down over there, Wade? What do you got?
Well, I was just thinking. So we've been talking about what wellness what we define it as, right? Kevin's always done a good job of defining it, creating a vision for our company, and wellness to us, I guess it is to Logan too. This is a good description for me, is living the life you're created to live. So seeing where all the money is being spent, right? I want to look at my life when I'm at the end of my life and like, what is the life I want to live between now and then, right? And then when I'm on my deathbed, what do I want to accomplish? And then now, how do I reverse engineer to get back?
Mhm.
So like, where is my money that I'm spending aligning up to help get me there, right?
Mhm.
So I think with Janae and I, my wife, we've always been okay spending money on any nutritional or anything fitness related. Like we'll always build that into our budget to help us get there because we know that's going to help us live longer, healthier lives, more fulfilled lives, challenge us. Hopefully our kids will see us performing those different activities and become engaged in it too, just see like what a healthy life is. So we've always been intentional about spending our money there. But where I think, just kind of going back to that initial quote of living the life you're created to live, and if a lot of people are putting their money into more appearance related things that aren't lasting in the world, it definitely just tells you, it kind of puts a pulse on where we are in the world,
Yeah.
right? From a wellness standpoint. But I think that would be something I would like to do, is just kind of jotting out like what I want to accomplish. I know Kevin's written his eulogy.
Mhm.
I'm in that part of the book right now.
Oh,
So
yeah?
I'm rereading the
Nice.
book.
Mm.
I'm going a lot slower with it. Hero on a Mission, author
Donald Miller.
Donald Miller. I almost
Great
said Simon
book.
Sinek. I was
Almost said
I
Donald Glover. That's a rapper.
Yeah.
So Donald Miller. And in one of the chapters, I think it's like chapter 7 or 8, I'm on right now, it's writing your eulogy. So it's basically you just write what you want to accomplish in life, and that's what you want read at the end of your life. So I think that would be a good practice, honestly, to see like where it lines up from your overall mental wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, right? Because again, everything here is fleeting. And what do we do that is going to make a lasting impact spiritually? If you're a spiritual person, afterlife, heaven, hell. I mean, obviously, all these things should align to help get you
Yeah.
where you want to go.
Mhm.
And making sure that I'm spending the money here and contributing to this $1.8 trillion industry, which
Yeah.
is nuts. Making sure my alignment of my own family goals aligns with what we want to accomplish.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's essentially backwards planning.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you hear a lot, like in fitness, as you set a goal for a race you want to run or a competition you want to do, and then you backwards plan. All right, now let's map out a training plan. Well, it's the same thing in all areas of your life. You know, if, like you said, if you're a spiritual person, you think about, okay, I know I want to make it to heaven. I want to live, I want to follow Christ. So in order to do that, I need to do this, this, and this. And the good thing is with everything in life, you're never at a point where you're too far gone, right? Because you don't know how much time you're ordained. You could be 70 years old and you're going to live to be 100. That's 30 years. Imagine what you
Yeah.
did in the first 30 years of your life. So I think that's what's important, is even if it's you wish you would have done it 5 years ago, so what? Just do it now. And I think that's what's important. And I think that's what people's intentions are. I think it's just scary to make a change, and it's scary to have a real conversation with yourself sometimes, and it's scary to think about what a process is going to look like to get to where you want to be. And I think that's just part of being human. That's human nature, and it just takes a lot of reps to get to a point where you're not scared anymore, or it takes a lot of reps to get to a point where you see progress, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like it took a long time, but this feeling's not fleeting, because I know that everything that it took to get here. I didn't give somebody $500 and I got to this point. I had to get a gym membership. Then I had to focus on my nutrition. I had to focus on my sleep. I had to focus on my relationships. And now I'm to this point. I didn't just spend a bunch of money and snap my fingers and now I'm here. So I think that's what's important, is being able to have the capacity to think that way. And once you experience it one time, then I think you understand, like you come to terms with, it's going to be hard and it's going to be challenging, but I know what it feels like to get there.
Yeah, I listened to Nick Barron's Sally McRae.
Oh, yeah.
Sally McRae is coming to speak at our race on September 27th this year in Bowling Green, and she's a professional runner. Has written a book. Is it called Choose Strong?
Too strong.
And it's not really about running. It's a lot of the stuff she's gone through in her life, and she's been through a lot. I mean, had a pretty tough childhood and has overcome a lot, and has gone through a lot of hard things to get where she's at. And the opening one of the parts of that podcast, but it's the Nick Bear podcast, but the clip they take from the soundbite he takes from the very beginning of the podcast, he plays it. And she's talking about how, basically everybody's looking for a hack basically. And they want to become I think the example she uses is a running coach in 90 days and then get programs offline. All of a sudden they're an expert running coach and this and that and everything. And what she talks about in there, she's like, no, it takes years. It takes years and years and years of work to really accomplish anything. And the growth that comes from that's where the joy is.
Mhm.
And, you know, and looking, you know, just finding joy in those little things and overcoming it. That's what it takes. And you can't figure it all out, but you just got to start. You're not going to know everything right away, and you can't spend your way into a certification and stuff and then know everything. You just got to put in the work day in and day out. And then one of the things they say in there is that you become known publicly for the things you do in private. I was like, oh man, I love that, you know? So, you know, the work I do when no one's watching is really what makes me who I am. And that's what I've become known for.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at when I just look at the spending, it's like we're spending money on stuff that I don't know. It's like stuff we spend. So it's all surface level stuff.
Yeah.
It's public stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't spend a lot of money or effort on the internal intrinsic stuff that make us who we are and stuff like that. We're trying to look for a hack basically. There's nothing wrong with spending money on your appearance. I do it. I mean,
we all do it. Like, we're not hating
What's
on.
your
I think
skincare routine, Kevin? Can
My
you
skincare
take us through your
next
10
next
step?
podcast we're gonna share it.
Suave Cedar something shampoo, 3-in-1.
Oh, I got a 3-in-1 for Christmas. Yep. So I've been.
I thought it was
It's conditioner, body wash,
And
face
shampoo.
wash,
I wish they made one
fungal
that.
cream, everything.
I wish they made a 4-in-1 where I could use it as toothpaste too. That'd be so much easier. Yeah.
With the 4-in-1.
I saw a funny meme this weekend, and it was like women have like a specific 8-step routine they follow for skincare in the mornings, and guys are at the Walmart looking for a 6-in-1 combo that they can use so they don't have to
splash my face with water.
Don't you think it probably does the same thing? Honestly,
maybe I don't know. Emily, yeah.
But I do like if you eat better, like if you eat,
drink water,
if you eat,
have issues.
Yeah, I mean that's where really, I mean that's the best skincare you can do.
Oh,
But
100%.
the other thing I was thinking about is, I don't know, like I think when we work with people, it's like, oh, I got to work on my fitness, I got to work on my diet. Like we make those things seem so miserable. You know, it's like fitness can be very fun.
Oh yeah.
Enjoy. It doesn't have to always be this like, okay, I've got to work on this and I got to punish myself.
Crush yourself. Yeah.
Like, man, like when I was out caught in a snowstorm at Mammoth Cave on Friday morning, like that was so fun.
Yeah.
Like running on trails, seeing an owl swoop down as the sun was rising. Like that's fun.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't always have to be something miserable either. Even going to the gym can be fun. And so like, I think we just take this approach that those things are supposed to be terrible and miserable. And it's like, man, the fact that I can move my body and I'm healthy enough to go lift weights or go walk or run or jog, like that's something I should have fun with. And like even eating well, like, I mean, eating, like making good, wholesome food, and like that's actually fun and it tastes good. And it's like, I don't know, it doesn't have to always be miserable. Like, why do we think these things have to be so miserable?
I know. And I think I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago. We had both just finished up a run and we ended at the same place. So we were talking and she was making the comment about how she's getting back into fitness. And she said that she is realizing that for her to be able to enjoy fitness and have accountability, she just has to find the community aspect of it. So I think a lot of times too, and some people prefer, like even me, some days I prefer to go run by myself or go to the gym by myself, have my headphones in. I don't want to really, I'm just in the mindset of I want to do this for myself right now. I want to be with myself. And then there's some days where you're like, man, I hope I see so-and-so in the gym and can have a 15-minute conversation between sets. Or I wonder if so-and-so wants to go run. Like I texted Kevin Saturday evening and I was like, hey, have you ran today yet? And he's like, no. So we linked up, we went and got a run in. And
thanks for including me on that. I felt really left out.
Yeah, you were in the group text. You could have drove from Breck County. No, but I think that, you have to find the community aspect in it too. And I think that helps a lot because again, there are some days where you just want to be to yourself. And then there's some days where you can lean on other people, or maybe there's somebody that is going through the same stuff as you. They're in the same fitness place as you, So I think it's important to find people and put them in your circle too. And maybe they just exist in your fitness or your health circle. You only see them in the gym on Tuesday mornings or Wednesday mornings, but I think that's fine too. But one thing that I was thinking about whenever you said that the things we do in private is how people see us publicly, I think that that is so hard. And I had to do this literally last night and today. I had to like make a really tough decision with like a person that I was talking to, and like I had to make that decision based on my values and how I felt, and not to like please that person. And this is kind of getting like deep a little bit, but I want you guys to think about it too. And even if you don't come up with it on the podcast, but like I've been thinking about like a word or words that's going to describe my year or like my goals for the year of how I want to internally act and like make decisions based off of. And I use the words faith and strength. And so like faith was obviously my relationship with Christ and being able to practice it more privately, but then also feel comfortable talking about it publicly. So obviously first and foremost is like my personal relationship with Christ. But then being comfortable talking about it with other people. And then 2 was strength. And that is honestly the strength aspect of it. You think like fitness and running, and that's a part of it. But then strength, when I think about that, I think of like the tough decisions that I have to make, whether it's with personal relationships, with getting up early to go get a workout in because I know the rest of the day is going to be dedicated to my family or work. And so those are like 2 words that I really thought about this year. And yeah, this morning I had to like have a conversation with somebody that was like, it was hard because, you know, I've known this person for a long time, but I knew that where I'm at in life and like the values that I have, and like it's a strong, like it's gonna take a lot of strength for me to have this conversation and say no, essentially, you know. And so I think that's part of it too, because if I would have took the yes man route and took it and went the route of doing it to please somebody else and it wouldn't have aligned with my values, that would have been much harder than just being upfront and being like, hey, no, like, no, thank you. And so I think that's important too, is like being able to like make these decisions based off of your values and what your goals are, and not worry so much about what other people might think. Because chances are in a month from now, the thing that I thought about today that was, you know, was kind of, it was hard to do, it's going to be in the very, very back of my mind. I'm going to be focused on something else. So again, that got kind of deep, but I think just being able to operate that way is going to help too. And it's not always easy. And I think that's where like the wellness spin kind of comes into play too. It's like, man, I would love to drop $150 this month on a skincare routine. We keep bashing skincare routines, but hey, I have some coconut. I don't even know what's coconut.
We know you guys.
Yeah, I do some
Logan's got
skincare.
everything.
Hey, I'm not spending more money on eyebrows.
Logan
getting threaded.
is like 1.2 trillion worth of this.
Most of the spin's coming from Logan.
No, that is hilarious. Hey, I did get my eyebrows threaded one time and haven't done it again since. So
One time's too much. Thanks for that. Sharon.
yeah, but anyway, no, I think that's
Gosh.
something for people to think about. Just think about like a word or words you want to use this month or this year on like maybe your values or like how you want to operate. And for me, it's like faith and strength. And like strength is pretty broad, faith is pretty broad, but that's how those both look for me. And like that's how I want to operate this year, essentially, with faith and with strength to make hard decisions and to make decisions that even though they're hard, it's going to best benefit me, my well-being, and the people that I'm around on a daily basis that need me to be my best.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing through, and I think my word this year is like joyful, because I don't know. I think a lot of times, and it probably extends more to home. You know, you got a lot going on at work and this and that in life, and then you come home, and I've got 4 young kids at home, and it's easy to just be frustrated or annoyed, or frustrated when they make a mess or whatever. And I'm like, gosh, I just want to be joyful. Like, I just want to be joyful in all areas of my life. And it's not always easy to do, you know what I mean? And I think it comes from, I need to have a lot of prayer and stuff. And, but I just feel like last year, I think it was a lot. I mean, especially, you know, buying a business and all the stuff and the stress of that. Just a lot going on in my life last year. And I think it was easy to not be joyful at times, you know, especially at home and stuff too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, if I'm, and it kind of, for me, I'm Christian as well. And if I'm going to talk about faith, I mean, if I claim to know Christ, like, well, then I should be one of the most joyful people there is, you know? And, I don't know that I've always practiced that. So
I know I don't either. It's hard.
That's my goal, man. I just want to be joyful. I just want to, in my eulogy says that, you know, it says that I was, you know, like a loving husband and supporting my wife and all that stuff. But I was it says that I'm some kind of like expert cheerleader to my grandchildren and all this stuff. But what I want to be remembered for is like just always showing up, always showing up and being there like for my kids and be like, oh, dad's here or grandpa's here. And man, it's just so fun when he's here. And I don't want to be frustrated or annoyed or, getting aggravated about the laundry or this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think I let those things get to, because I'm a perfectionist and I wanted everything to be perfect all the time. I was like,
Yeah.
I got to let go of some of that and just find joy in everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And to me, when you're living joyfully, then you're well, you know?
Yeah.
I just read the book Delivering Happiness by, oh gosh, this is the founder of Zappos,
Mm.
and really good book. He wrote this like in early 2000s, maybe 2010, maybe 2011. I'm not sure. Tony, and I have no I have
HSIEH.
no idea how
Tony
you say his
Sai.
last name. But it's just very interesting story, because you read this book, and he died a few years ago, and it's all about delivering happiness. And basically Zappos became this great company because they were very proactive and kind of revolutionary in how they did employee culture, and built relationships with their employees and their customers and all this stuff. And really Tony was just chasing truth and he loved community. He talks about how he experienced a rave for the first time when he was in San Francisco, and about how crazy that was, because all these people coming together and they didn't care about what they looked like or this or that. And obviously there was probably some drugs involved and all this stuff, but it was like, we're all coming together as one. And it was just this real powerful thing. And so he was just chasing this and chasing this and chasing happiness. And eventually in 2020, I mean, he ends up killing himself. And just really had a very sad end to his life, like super sad, and really ended up just alone, you know?
Wow.
And so it's kind of interesting reading that book, because obviously this is prior to when all that started. And he was chasing, and I think the problem was he was chasing happiness. He was chasing fleeting things and not putting a lot of his time and effort in things that were lasting. And eventually those things all failed him by the time he was 40 years old. So he built this amazing company that, was doing $1 billion in sales and all this stuff. But at the end of it, he died alone, and it's just really sad.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I don't want to just chase happiness, because happiness can kind of be fleeting. It's kind of more of a feeling, but joyful is lasting. Joyful doesn't go away. Joyful is like who you are inside.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be this year.
And the memories you create. Like when I think about like happiness or moments, or like happy moments, you think of when you buy something new, when you accomplish something cool. But when you think of like joyfulness, like for me, I always think about my daughter now. Like this is like a super specific example, but whenever I think about like moments where I've been like joyful, and like every single time I think about it, it's like it's a happy moment, is whenever I'm like playing with my daughter, and she's almost 18 months now, so she's starting to talk a lot more, and I'm like tickling her or something, she starts laughing, and she's like, "Daddy." It's like those are moments that like are joyful to me, because I'm like, those are the moments that she's going to remember, that's going to impact her, not buying a new car or traveling to New York to do a race, or doing this, that, or the other, or taking care of skincare routine so I look 1 year younger whenever I'm 75 years old. Like that stuff
I'm glad you're figuring it out now.
doesn't matter, So now I know I'm not spending more money on my skincare routine. No, but really, that's such a good example.
And I think about like, from a fitness standpoint, for me, it's longevity. And so in my eulogy also, it says I run 100 miles when I'm 75 years old. And so it's like, okay, I don't have to be the best runner right now, but I want to be able to run forever.
Yeah. Sustainable.
Sustainable. So so I think, all the wellness stuff is like invest in things that are lasting and that are going to give you joy. Not just going to give you a feeling for a second, And I think our culture, we know just from data, we're very depressed culture.
Yeah.
Very lonely, isolated culture, but we're spending a lot of money in things that give us just some fleeting feelings. And not that those are bad, but like, make sure you're investing in the things that last too, on top of that. Which I love the way you're like, I always like that about you and Janae. You're going to invest in stuff that's going to make you healthy, like fitness, nutrition, those things, because you want longevity. And I know for you that's important, because there's not a lot of longevity in the males in your life, right?
Yeah. So it's pretty significant. My maternal grandfather died at 42 of a heart attack. My dad's dad, so my paternal grandfather, died at, I think he was in his early 60s, but he was maybe late 50s of a heart attack. And an uncle passed away in his mid 50s of a heart attack. Multiple cancers in our family, So like for me, it's close to home on just from lifestyle changes. And if you knew me when I was younger, man, I was not down a good path in terms of health and wellness. So physically, I feel better where I'm at, but I still go through ebbs and flows, but this past year was the first year like I've consistently stayed
Yeah, you were dialed.
on a plan. Like I had a few months here and there where I ate what I wanted every now and then, but not going into excess, but stayed consistent from working out, eating right. I feel like this year, I don't know if this would be my word, but now I just want to, I don't know, joyful. I don't want to steal your word, but it's more like just really focusing in on my family and like personal relationships is probably a big key in mine because I've spent last year so like introspective and like work, like looking internally. I really want to be able to give to my wife and my kids a lot more this year. Because it is easy to, whenever you get home, just to be angry, short, think about all the things you got to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you're not fully present. Think about things you got to do at the house right now. And so you're not fully present with your kids. So my wife is very good about making me slow down and not pay attention to those things. And I feel like we both have good energy off each other. Like if she's struggling, then I'm good. If I'm struggling, then she's good. I feel like we balance each other out really well. But even like just little things like with our kids, one of the things, one of Janae's books she read talked about with your kids, it's really important. It's like either 10 to 20 minutes a day of P&P. So play no phone. So like your kid just has your undivided attention one-on-one and you do whatever that kid wants. Can't say no. I guess unless she wants to jump off the house or something, I'm gonna tell her no. But like even like just with Eliza the other day, it was first read her a book and then we built Magna tiles for like 20 minutes. To her, that was the greatest day in the world.
Yeah.
And then later that day, I was like, hey, Eliza, I just want to ask you a couple questions. Why do you love your dad? Like, why do you love me? She's like, you just have the best heart. And I was like, damn, that's pretty
so
deep
deep.
for
That
like a
is
3-year-old.
so deep.
I was like, well, that just made me cry right then and there. But yeah, those are the moments that really bring joy, you know, and really just want to invest in those things that are going to bring more longevity in our family.
Yeah, and I think that's where true wellness
Yeah.
is, right? Investing in things that give you joy, that give you longevity, so you can experience those joyful moments with the people you love, and then having just people close to you in your life and not being isolated, man. And I think that's the maybe there's some really neat innovation. I mean, our product is we deliver wellness services through our app.
Yeah.
People can do anywhere, which is really, really neat. But like, you know, you talk about a lot of the at-home health stuff now where you don't even have to go into a clinic. You just get stuff, but that's also kind of isolating. DoorDash, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, there is power in those little small moments of seeing a cashier at a restaurant or whatever it is, because you're interacting with people. And I think there is a lot of danger. We got to watch for it. Even though a lot of these innovations are good, AI is good, all this stuff, it's all great stuff, but we got to be careful because eventually you will never have to talk to an actual person.
Yeah.
You know? And I think there is a lot of value and power in relationships. I mean, one of the pillars of our company is relationship driven. And we always want to keep that relationship piece to where we're connecting people to people, because I think that's really important. And then we got to be just very aware of that, of the danger, the side effects of all the innovation that we have going on right now, all the at-home health stuff, all those things, because eventually you can literally just be isolated. And we know from that Surgeon General report, I mean, it's one of the worst health things you can do. I mean, they're calling it a health epidemic in America right now.
Yeah.
It's just really,
it's not light.
And this data was pre-COVID. So that they released this in 2020, but the data they gathered
2018, 19. Yeah, I'm sure.
It was like, I
So
think it was
imagine-
2016 to 2020 is when they gathered the data.
So
think about
imagine
where
it
it's at-
now.
where it's at now. Yeah.
People working remote more now. I
Yes.
mean,
So,
crazy.
yeah. So we just got to be very aware. We're having rapid innovation, but like we got to remember people are made for people. And I mean, people cannot exist in isolation, no matter what you say. I was at a gymnastics meet on Saturday with our daughter, and there was a lady in front of us, and she had a shirt on that said the Antisocial Grandmas Club, which I thought was kind of
That's
funny.
hilarious.
But I think a lot of people are almost priding themselves in like, oh, I social distance before it was cool. Or
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, that we can joke about that, but that's kind of sad. And it's very lonely. And I just think about, you know, the founder of Zappos. I mean, he in the end, he was just very isolated and alone and died smoked himself out in a fire in a house by himself. Like, that is so sad.
Yeah.
It's just so lonely and sad, and it's such a terrible way to go out. And so he had all the stuff in the world. He had literally billions of dollars. He had people that would give him anything he wanted, and he was lonely and alone there at the end, you know?
Crazy.
So yeah, playing Magna tiles and having your daughter tell you that she loves your heart. I mean, that's lasting stuff, and that's where true wellness is.
Yeah.
I think that community piece is huge too. I know Logan's hit on that a lot, and just from our business, we try to create a community of just like encouragement around people and just build people up and understanding that all these changes you got to make for these lasting impacts are super hard. So any little change to celebrate it. It's been hard for Janae and I, once we moved back home, to find a community of people like that. And I feel like here recently I've started a little running group back home, and it's started out small, but now I create a little Facebook group for them, and there's over 50 people in there now.
Wow.
Like all actively doing a challenge, posting their runs each day, congratulating each other, having side conversations, all meeting up to go for runs during the week.
That is so cool, dude.
It was just cool of like one little decision that I had just to invite a couple people out for a run has turned into this. Now people are getting together, living a more active, more fulfilled life, having that community of people, building them up, and just seeing how much more they seem to be thriving just off some little change, which is something we try to do with our program all the time. So it's just neat to see that work out, and don't discredit those small interactions. Like you were saying, like with the cashier, right? Like you smiling, telling her, thank you, hope you have a great day, may be the interaction that changes her outlook for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You know, so it's pretty powerful, those small little actions we can take.
I may have brought this up a long time ago on a podcast, but we were at some kind of convention or conference. It may have been with you. Oh, I think it was at that Tennessee safety conference that we showed up at.
Oh yeah.
But there was this guy, he was a worker, probably not making hardly any money at all. And you know, he was like watching the door, a young guy, and people were just basically making sure people had their credentials go in and out. And he was just standing there, and people were just almost acting like he wasn't there, just walking past him. And I just took the time to say something to him. I don't remember what I said, but I went out of my way to say something nice to this guy, because you could just see it was almost like he wasn't human. Like it's just the way people, just nobody was just paying attention to him. And like after that little tiny interaction, I looked back a few minutes later, and he was like singing a little song and like dance, like kind of like to himself. Like you could tell like he felt better all of a sudden, because like. And I'm not trying to say this to prop myself up at all or anything, because I'm a lot of times the person that ignores somebody or whatever, but I was intentional about that, and you could just see just that small interaction change that guy's
little spark.
So interesting. Like people just want to be noticed, and they want to be congratulated, and they want to, and they want to be supported. You know, and they want to be heard, like I do. You know,
yeah.
You know, and I think that's like early America was so good in that. Like, you know, there would be these little pods of like different ethnic groups and cities, you know, and they would all live together, and they'd have a church together, and they have a school, and they were all, you know, maybe like in you know, St. Louis, it'd be like little, like the hills, like the little Italian area that Yogi Berra and all these guys, baseball players, grew up in, but they all came from Italy, and they all lived together, and they just, and I see that a lot in our community in Bowling Green. We're a refugee community here, and so we have a lot of Burmese, we have a lot of Congolese, and the Burmese community really sticks together. Like at my church, they really stick together, and they support each other. And you know, during church, like there'll be kids just walking from family to family, because they're all kind of like one big family.
Yeah.
You know, and they've helped each other in these you know, because they were going through, you know, I mean, it was a really hard life they had. They were refugees out of a war-torn country where they had to come together and support each other. And I think sometimes as Americans, you know, we lose that, and we just think, oh, I can just do it myself. I don't need all these people. It's like, no. You really
yeah.
You know?
I think, especially for our wives now, both of our wives are stay-at-home moms, like having that community for them is huge.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know my mom stayed home with us. I know your mom stayed home with you kids growing up, but she had all her sisters, all extended family. Like we got together with family all the time. Like there was that sense of community, even if it was our family, if it wasn't.
Yeah.
But now, like you said, it's pretty isolating. Either a lot of people are either working or don't want to bother people trying to reach out to meet up with them and stuff. But I can just see like the toll it could take on them, just staying at home with the kids too.
We're getting way off topic here. I'm going to keep going.
That's
from
fine.
Our article, but it's interesting too. And I'm very, very guilty of this. Is like, we don't want to like you said, we don't want to bother people.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to ask for help. We think we have to do everything on our own. And I know personally, like I want people to ask me for help. Like I want friends to come to me if they need something. I think most people do.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when it comes to us and I've got an issue, I don't want to tell anybody I need any help.
Yeah.
And
You want to appear weak.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
I think for me, like I don't want to appear like I have issues. I want to show that I have it all figured out. You know,
Yeah.
there's only a few people I could talk to.
Yeah.
That I feel like I could share that with.
But that seems like that's a
sad,
big
though.
thing. That's
It's
a big
sad.
thing in our society. We don't want to ask for help. We
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
I think it's partially ego and partially feeling a burden. I think
Yeah.
it varies per person, and because you feel like, well, and then you also think about, especially when you're a parent and you have something going on, you're like, I don't have time to worry about it. I don't want other people to worry about it. But I think when you can bring light to something, even if it's a small struggle or if it's a huge struggle, if you tell someone that's close to you, a lot of times, I would say 99% of the time, if it's someone you're close to, they're going to go out of their way to make sure you're good and to support you. And they're not going to judge you either. They might be like, wow, I'm surprised by that, but they're not going to judge you for it, And again, I don't think maybe people think it's oversharing, but I'm always an open book if it's people I'm close to. And I always trust the people most that overshare, if you want to call it that, in the first 30 minutes of meeting you. If you can overshare with me, I'm like, this person's real,
Yeah.
I
I'm
have
the
a
same
tendency
way.
to overshare. Janae
I do-
tells me all the time. So
I
mean,
overshare all the time, and I think that's the quickest and
I think
easiest
it's
way
okay.
to
Yeah.
break walls down because I can trust that person. I'm like, I've known you for 30 minutes, and you're telling me about this,
Well, we were talking about, so we went to that gymnastics competition and a lot of snow and stuff. So we had to be there 8 a.m. It was an hour and a half away. So we're like, we're just going to go the night before and stay at a hotel. And I told you we were going through Morgantown, Butler County, Kentucky, and there was like 7,000 lights. Like I was going to this ridge, and there was just police lights everywhere. I was like, oh my gosh, it must be a terrible wreck. And we got up there, and there was like a car like kind of just off in the snow a little bit, like totally fine. But there was literally like 8 volunteer firefighter trucks, like big diesel trucks that they had like every light. They tricked them out, and they were all excited to help. Like people want to help, and that was like their moment.
Mhm.
And I saw that here when we had the bad tornadoes in 21.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the whole community came together and everybody was helping each other.
Everybody.
And people wanted to help.
Yeah.
Like it was, it's like I think people want to help people. I think down inside of most of us, like we're good and we want to help. And so it's like,
do you think like media's just divided people to the
I think
point where
so.
they think like they're all alone and they're all on an island, whereas deep down I feel like everybody still truly cares about everybody. Like
Yeah.
you would go out of your way to help anyone, even if you didn't
Yeah.
know them,
Yeah. So yeah, I think again, just thinking wellness, like that's wellness.
That is wellness,
That's
yeah.
wellness, right?
Having people in your corner and being a part of something or a thing that is bigger than you, that, like even if something as small as Wade's Run Club when he first started in a small town, now those people who are walking the first time are probably running a little bit more, or they're at least trying to run more and get better. And then they've met people at Run Club, and like that's just a trickle effect, right? So you think about how that impacts people. Like we were talking on our run the other day about how if you hold the worship service once a year with the 100,000 people, that grows like 5%. But if one person interacts with someone new every other day and talks to them about God, like that is over time, it maximizes the chances of more people hearing,
Yeah.
So it's just,
Very interesting.
yeah, I think it just being able to find a community, and then if not finding a community, starting one or just talking to people and helping people is going to help you a lot.
And the cool thing is that doesn't cost any money.
$0.
Yeah, $0.
Yeah. Like Andy Frisella says, share the show. Don't be a what, Wade? Share the show. But anyway, I think this is a good stopping point.
Wade's looking at his list though. You got
No,
more?
I was just looking at some of the stats, man.
It's
This
staggering,
is
dude. It is insane. Some of the,
Yeah.
I mean,
This
first
will
off, I
be a
can't.
topic for another day. But
Yeah.
we're good.
Well, I think it's good. I
We're
think
putting Logan to sleep right now. He's over there yawning.
Yeah, no, it's because I just crushed that C4. I'm feeling jittery.
That's one thing I was talking about. The upper limit for caffeine for people is 700 milligrams a day.
Oh
So-
my gosh.
So Logan's probably hitting that every single day.
No, the most
No
I get in
wonder
a
your
day.
sleep is so disrupted.
The most I get in a day is 400.
Okay.
The
all right.
most.
All right,
That's
go
if I
on,
have
go
a-
on.
that's
I'm
if
not
I
gonna
have
get-
a-
I'm not going to get in on this other stuff.
Okay,
I
you're making me
just-
look
I
bad
just
here.
like
No, I'm
it,
kidding.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good stopping point. And I think this is important stuff too to talk about, and it kind of sparks conversation, and hopefully it allows people to maybe think more internally about what's important to them and what are areas they can improve on, or somebody they can reach out to. Maybe you listen to this and you're like, man, I really need to get more involved in my gym or community or church, whatever it is. So I think there's so many ways we can prioritize certain wellness areas over others, and it not really make that big of a difference in your daily life and your daily actions. So just making that 1 degree change.
My takeaway was figure out the life that you want to live and then just backwards plan.
Yeah.
And like none of these wellness things we talked about are bad,
Right. Yeah.
but just okay, backwards plan and which ones do I want to prioritize? Which ones get me closer to that vision that I have for my life?
Yeah.
And then if appearance is one of the biggest things, okay, go all in on it.
Yeah.
You know? But if it's not, prioritize those other things that get you there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go get your hair plugs.
I was gonna say, if anybody has any good product reviews on some skincare routines, drop them in the comments. Let Logan know. He'd be excited to
I
try
need to
them
get-
out before next.
I need to get
before
these
next
crow's
show.
feet gone, guys.
Hey, no, I have eye cream I wear every night, so it's
Okay.
all good, man. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Thanks for listening, y'all. And if you
Let's stop it right there.
yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
stop it. Ways.
Cut it before that, man.
Nope,
You
no.
Go back and edit that out.
No. But if you guys want to follow along and see what we're up to and learn more, just reach out to us. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's just MoveWell, MUUVWELL. And then you can check out our website, see what we're about, some of the stuff that we're doing from a business standpoint at movewell.com. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time.